and I love that term because it's so true, that are making this amazing graphic art. It is so ethereal and so beautiful and so full of energy. And it's the same thing because it's just layers and layers and layers, but it's in form, but it has that same effect, if you
Yes.
will. Oh my gosh.
I know. There's just so many young people that are coming onto the planet that are here from the star nations, the star systems to help bring us up.
It's so cool.
I know.
It's so cool. It's neat because my Facebook feed is finally starting to shift into like so much of that stuff that I can look at it again every once in a while and have like this art and all their wonderful stuff. And it's so cool because they are taking over. Yes.
I know, right? We need that. We need that. We definitely need those hybrids, and the star people coming more and more. And it's interesting because when Yeshua helped me understand what my background mantra was, which is I'm sorry, apologizing all the time for myself. I felt like I was a failure. I've been here so long, blah, 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 all this, when can I come home? I haven't finished my job yet, all that kind of thing. As I was talking with him, and this is funny. I was talking to him on a spirit board. My mother brought him in and I was talking to him on a spirit board, a third eye board. Isn't that funny? And he's asking me, are you sure? And I say, well, am I sure what? And he said, listen. So I heard my background mantra was, I'm sorry. I kept saying, I'm sorry. And he asked me, are you sure? Are you sure you're sorry? Are you sure? Because I would just say it all the time. It was just my mantra. So you know what he gave me? He gave me a new mantra to replace it with. Infinity.
Oh,
just what we were talking about.
Oh, that's amazing. Because that's what I get stuck in too. As a matter of fact, part of the thing I've been going through the last probably 2 months really is this guilt. And I have spent hours crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I have failed. I've not lived up to it. Ho'oponopono, which is so powerful.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Oh my God. Another parallel.
I know, right? Yeah. And when I chant infinitive, I just feel that expansion.
Oh yeah.
It's just, there's so much expansion. And I want to go back to what you were talking about, Michelle, with, when you're connecting to someone, well, they're not outside of herself, but when you're connecting to someone and you're thinking and you have that program where are you of the dark or the light, or
yeah.
So what's your advice to people that are watching on how to deal with that if they have that type of program? What do what would you advise on how to trust that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I still use this little trick and I teach it to all my students and I even have some clients. I'm like, you know what? You do still need to make sure who you're talking to because there are beings that'll just zippity zip on in and be like, hello, I'm of the light. And they're not. And especially now, we have a lot of the darkness rising up and it's some powerful stuff. So here's my little trick that I do, and it follows a certain spiritual law and the law of three, where what you do is you ask them, are you of the light? And they cannot say yes 3 times because of the spiritual law of three. And so anything that comes in, I teach this with my students too. And it's like rule number 1, anytime anything comes in, even if it says, I'm Jesus, is, are you of the light? And they'll always go, well, yeah, of course I am. Why do you think I'm here? I'm here to save your life and tell you how to do everything perfectly and manifest mansions and Ferraris for you.
Yeah.
And then you ask them again, are you of the light? They'll probably say, yeah. But what they're going to do is they're going to try to distract you. Oh yeah, the cat needs fed. Oh, okay. So you forget to ask the last time. So you get distracted. Or they'll be like, well, yeah, of course I'm of the light. Why are you asking? How come you're always so afraid? And anybody that's like really clairvoyant or anything can hear that conversation, but they'll put that energy in your body. They love to use shame and guilt. If they can shame and guilt you, what? You don't believe me? look at me. I'm so bright and shiny, or look at, you can feel my presence. You have to ask that third time, are you of the light? They cannot say yes and they cannot stay if they are. A lot of times, if they're really determined, they'll move off. But it's important to say, if you are not of love and light, you are to leave now. And sometimes these days you need to say, I am that I am, and I claim my authority as the divine sacred being, and you must leave. Now, that's a very simplistic form. I also have like an entity clearing that you're filled and surrounded with Christ's love, filled and surrounded with Christ's light. Go now with Christ. And that would be my next thing, but that's a whole other training. But that is so powerful. And I have some people that love to dabble. They just haven't learned their lessons yet. It's like, how hard do you have to get slapped before you start doing this? But that is what I do.
What do you mean dabble?
Well, I've just had some people that, they're just coming into, opening up their psychic senses, opening up their healing abilities, opening up, and yet they still want to watch scary movies, or they still, love to go to graveyards, I mean, or even doing paranormal stuff, going to haunted houses. It's like, no, cut it out. It's like, you might have a wetsuit on, but you don't jump in a Shark Tank, okay?
Yeah.
And so it's stuff like that. And then when you reach a certain level of mastery, and it's self-mastery, you can then be, that requirement isn't so much. But when you're first doing that, and I've used it for 20 years, and I still use it to this day. Every once in a while, I had something come to my office window when I was in the middle of doing spirit release with somebody else. And I had a spirit come to this window and I could feel them there. And I'm just like, excuse me. I mean, I've got realms of protection around my home because of, some of the experiences I've had in black tourmaline and, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And luckily I have beloved Anubis helps me too. He protects. But I was like, just like, are you kidding me? And it's something that just blip, 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 come on in. Like, you have to kind of stay diligent. But when you reach a certain level of mastery, your fields become so strong and so resilient, that those kind of things don't really happen so much.
Right.
But when our vibe goes down, we become, you can pick up stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. I also like to go with how I feel with any energies that come around that want to connect or that we're connecting with, and how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
And with Yeshua, as soon as my mother stepped out and he stepped in, I couldn't stop crying. I cried for a week straight from the recognition and the release. And so, and again, I didn't believe it was him. He came through as another being. It took me a little while to believe him. And he'd say Christ, and I say Christ consciousness, anyway.
Well, and that's another way. The little tool I have is another way to confirm.
Right.
Because Jesus is going to be like, thank you for being diligent.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, you may not know this about me, but I'm a paranormal investigator and a researcher.
I did that too.
Okay, yeah.
But again, it's mastery too.
I was just going to say that, yes. So you're talking about people who are starting to open up, that type of thing. And I totally agree with you. It's something that you have to have experience with the afterlife, with what happens, and how to know to protect yourself. And mainly I do it also to help spirit rescue, like you were talking
about. And that's why I do it too.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I do it too.
Right. Yeah.
It's not something I seek out so much, but every once in a while it'll be like, we got to go step into this realm.
And I found I don't really have to go anywhere to help spirit, to rescue spirit. I can do it right here in my own house. Not that I wouldn't like to get out and go, somewhere, but what's that all about, considering last year and a half or 2 years? But so but there's so many spirits that need rescuing. And again, Yeshua is the one who taught me about that.
Yeah. That's where my teachings came through.
Yeah, totally. There's so many people that are still stuck on the earth plane and don't know how to die.
Yeah, they don't know how to get. Well, I learned a really good lesson. God, it's probably been about 10 years ago. I went and did a psychic fair on the Queen Mary.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I had pretty strong fields then, but there were a lot of people that were, opening up fields and people that didn't know what they were doing. And it was all kinds of crazy stuff. But what I did, and this is a lesson for everybody, is before I went on the ship, I say my prayer and invite everybody in. And I state to myself and to the ship, and the beings, that if anybody needs to cross over, when we get done with this, I will be happy to help you. Because the Queen Mary is a portal. It's not just about what happened on that ship. It is a portal for so much stuff. So I do this 2-day fair and it's fun, and had a couple things. We had some, a girlfriend and I were talking, and all of a sudden these 3 sailors show up and they're holding our hands and they're touching our face. And when we're laughing and giggling, and then they threw cake at us and then it disappeared, wow. So we had some really cool experiences. But here, this is what I did, is such a lesson to everybody. So I get done, I go home, and I'm doing my thing, getting on with my life. And I'm starting to feel icky. I'm starting to feel weird. Like things are starting to get wonky. And I was studying with it's a group, and it might be considered a religion. I'm not sure. It's in Long Beach. It's called the Teachings of the Inner Christ, which is very Christ-centered, which is where I learned a lot of my stuff, and that healing that I do too. But we're doing some table tipping, right?
Oh, I love table tipping.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the teacher goes, "Who brought in all of these sailors and all this stuff?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I completely forgot." And so we're table tipping, and I mean, and it's getting thick, right? And everybody else in the class is like, "Oh, what's going on?" And she says, there is a captain of the ship here. I'm seeing the Queen Mary. And all of a sudden I went, oh my God, I told him I would help them. How long ago was it that you were there? And I'm like 3 months ago. And they're like,
wow.
They have been following you around. You offer something.
There you go.
We were able to bless them and heal them and release them. And there literally was a portal. So when we got that done, it kept on going. But
nice. That's very nice.
Lesson.
Well, follow through on what you tell spirit.
Totally.
Was that fair with Allison and Mavis? Because I know they've done some events there.
I know George Norrie was there. AJ Barrera was there. That's when I met
AJ
him.
Barrera, yeah.
Yeah, and I started working with him and did some working with the detectives, finding missing people and stuff like that. I studied with him doing that. And I don't remember any other big names. And what you're saying doesn't ring a bell.
Allison Gannon, she works with AJ, and Mavis Patilla, who's from the UK. No, well, you would know.
It doesn't ring a bell.
Okay,
but that doesn't mean they weren't there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's a lot of mediums and psychics that have events on the Queen Mary, because they've had a few there too.
Yeah. It was fun.
I bet. Sounds like it.
There were a few parts of that ship that I'm like, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
I'm a chicken. It's part of the reason I'm not big on the paranormal, because I'm like, ah.
It's so funny. I do know quite a few mediums that are, freaked out by that kind of stuff. And I totally get it. Definitely. I don't know. I'm not too freaked out by it. But
what freaks me out, because I've had it happen a few times, is being touched.
Yes.
And I'm like, no touchy. No touchy. And a lot of times in those kind of places, they're like, oh, really?
That would be freaky. The only time I ever remember being touched is in my own home.
Yeah, I've had that too. It's funny. It's like, it
but not in a
seems
bad way.
yeah, no. And I've never been touched or, anything like that.
Yeah.
But just that, like that caress on the arm thing is like, that does me in. So I don't think I'm cut out to be a real paranormal investigator. Although I love it. I've got all the equipment and stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I get the most amazing. I haven't done it in quite a while outside of here, but I have the most amazing EVPs, and yeah, totally. It's really good work. I love it.
Yeah, and it's cool because it begins to prove that there is life outside of this third dimensional realm, and it's important that people know that,
right?
and stop being scared.
Yes, they're just people, just like us, and animals, and they're just we just change form. We walk from one. It's like walking from one room into another. We just change form.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, we've been so programmed to fear death, and it's not. We don't know how to die in our society. I say it all the time.
We don't hold it in honor at all. And part of it, and it might be stepping out a little bit, but part of it is it's all done in these hospitals under drugs and all this kind of stuff, and that the whole ritual has really been lost. I think people are starting to reclaim it in certain ways again, but yeah, I
hope so. That makes me think. And then we'll end. I want to keep you here all day, Michelle. We could talk all day, but we're a little bit off topic from the original. I know. But we're sharing some really cool stuff, right? When my mother passed, that night I had an out-of-body experience, and I met her at the park. Robert Monroe teaches about the park. It's a jumping off place. When we die, we can sometimes meet our loved ones in a park scene. Oh. And she was at the park, and she was in the hospital, and she was on morphine. So, she was taking her last breaths, and I went home to rest, and I get a call in the middle of the night. But anyway, this is before I knew she had passed. And she's sitting there on a park bench, and I see her parents standing off in the distance, and she's out of it, totally out of it. And I sit down next to her, and I said, "Oh, hi, Mom. Are you okay?" I start to talk to her, and she said, "No." She says, "I just, no, I'm confused. I'm really confused. I don't know what to do." And at that point, my stepfather, who had died 4 years earlier, pulls up in a limousine, gets out. Well, he wasn't driving the limousine, but I don't know if nobody's driving it, but he gets out with a dozen roses, walks up to Mom, hands her the roses, and takes her with him, and they get in the limo and drive off. But she was so confused from the drugs, the morphine, and all of that. She didn't know what to do. And yeah, that was really an amazing experience. And the phone rings a little while later, and they tell us that she passed.
She passed. Wow. Yeah, the drugs and stuff that they use. But you know what? Thank God that they keep people out of pain.
Yeah.
Because my mom is in a lot of pain. And, luckily I was there with her and actually physically saw her spirit leave.
Wow.
It was like, whoosh, and it was beautiful.
Wow.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
We did get way off topic. And Jesus said, when you said getting off topic, he says, "No, I'm in all of this."
Right.
He's in all of this. Don't worry.
I feel him just right here with us, and Mary Magdalene too. They're all just sitting here with us in this group. Like you said, everyone's sitting around and chatting. Yeah,
it's so beautiful. This has been so fun.
Thank you so same much. Here. Thank you for being here, and we'll have to do this again, definitely, because I'm sure we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and I yes, we do.
And don't you have a YouTube channel? Are you getting one started, or you have one?
I do. I've had it for a while. It's kind of been going in fits and starts. I've got my Intergalactic Angel Messenger that I'm getting more and more active. I've got several different things in there. I've got a it's called Soul Speak Salon, which is angelic, or well, it's angelic language, but it's that light
Nice.
language.
Right.
And I've got
Okay.
some other shows that I've done that are up there, but I don't have anything really consistent. It's kind of, I love doing a million things at one time.
Yeah.
You know,
I
it's
get
like
it.
I'm the person that reads 5 books at one time.
I get it.
It's just kind of my makeup. And so that's kind of how my YouTube channel is. But I'm getting more,
That's
and now that
okay.
I have more energy and time, I'm going to be getting back to my Intergalactic Angel Messenger. And the thing about that is it's Intergalactic I, Angel A, Messenger M. So it's coming from the I am presence,
Oh, nice.
but it's coming through the intergalactic angelic energy stream, if you will. And so it's some pretty good messages. It's some pretty good messages.
Oh, I bet. So
So
tell people where they can find you, and I will put it down in the details, but can you tell
it's
people where they can find you?
my YouTube is Michele Amburgey. My website is micheleamburgey.com. My Facebook is Intuitive Michele Amburgey. My Instagram is Michele Amburgey. So I have everything under my name.
Okay.
I've not gone off and done that. I had a very smart business coach tell me that, and it has really worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Michele Amburgey, and I'm Michelle with 1 L.
Okay.
So that'll
Got it.
make a difference too.
Okay, darling, do you have any parting words of wisdom you'd like to give the audience who's watching now?
You are all the Christ energy. You are all the Magdalene energy. Give yourself permission to open up and be. Let it in. Let it come up from within. Let it come in from without. And don't be afraid, and don't think you're unworthy. Everyone is worthy. We are sacred and holy. Every one of you are. Let yourself embrace that. Let's wake the world up.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
So cool. Thank you so much. This has been such an honor.
Same here. And thank you everyone for being here and watching again. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. We have to say that, it's YouTube. And like and comment. And what else is there? And share.
And share and ring the bell.
And ring the bell, yes, for notifications. All right. Namaste, everyone. We love you dearly.
Blessings.
Mwah.